Greetings dear friends and welcome to another tenses video with me, Mohit. Now there's often a toss-up between sentences such as I have done and I did. Now this is a toss-up between the present perfect and the past simple tenses and is known to be a bone of contention for students of grammar every now and then. Nonetheless, in this video I'm going to take up several such cases wherein the choice between the two tenses becomes a little tricky, but with the help of many examples I'm going to try and guide you to the right selection between the two tenses. Let's begin. Alright, so let's begin with the first case, which is thinking about past and present together. So whenever you wish to express an event which took place in the past while thinking of its consequences, effects, or relevance in the present, you're going to do that in the present perfect instead of the past simple. Let's have a look at an example over here. We've got the first sentence as my sister has learned French, which is to say she can speak it now. So you are pondering or thinking over the consequences, the present consequences of that past action, which is she can speak it now. Hence you've got the original action being expressed in the present perfect, and that is my sister has learned French. Let's explain that with the help of a situation. Say if somebody's to ask that, do tell me about the qualifications of your sister. So you go ahead and say, yes, she has learned French, which is to imply that she is capable of utilizing and speaking that language in the present. Now, on the contrary, let's imagine the same sentence in the past simple. You would have the sentence as my sister learned French. Now, what has happened here is that we have entirely disconnected the context of the sentence from the present, which is to say that the speaker no longer wishes to express the relevance of that past action, which was learning French, in the present. So when do you use the past simple structure? It is used more often to express the when. So now the sentence changes into my sister learned French last year. Which brings me to a very important point, and I feel I must share it with you, and that is that while your present perfect is more concerned about the what, your past simple is used more often to express the when, which is exactly what you saw in action over here. When we wanted to know what the sister has done, we employed the use of the present perfect, which is that she has learned French. And when we wanted to know when she did it, we went ahead and used the simple past, which was she learned French last year. So very important point there that you must remember, which is present perfect for what and your past simple for when. And with that, let's move to the next example. You've got a sentence over here, another present perfect sentence as we've studied enough to pass the exam. And this is to imply that the exam is still to come. On the other hand, if you change that into a past simple, you would have the sentence as we studied enough to pass the exam, which would imply that the exam is over. So when do you use that structure? Once again, you use that simple past to express the when. So you can have that sentence, that simple past sentence as we studied enough to pass the exam. That was last week. And now on to the final example. We have a current news as Jane and Richard have got married. So this is current news being expressed in the present perfect. So the rule goes that whenever you wish to express a piece of news which is quite current, the preferred choice of the tense is the present perfect, which is for a very obvious reason, and that is that although the event has taken place in the recent past, it does have a bearing on the present. As opposed to this, let's have a similar sentence, this time expressed in the past simple. You have the sentence as my parents got married in 1984. Now over here, the speaker has no intention of mentioning or throwing light upon the consequences of that action in the present. All they want to convey is when that event took place, and hence the sentence, my parents got married in 1984. And that's the first case regarding the present perfect and the past simple, which is thinking about past and present together. And now let's go ahead and move to the second case. Alright, so on to the second case, which is situation active or ended, by which I quite simply mean that if a situation that started in the past is active up till a point in the present, which is to say that it is still active, you're going to go ahead and use the present perfect tense. You have a sentence such as I have worked here for 2 years, and that implies I still work here. On the contrary, if a situation that started in the past has ended somewhere in the past itself, this will call for a past simple structure. You have that same sentence now as I worked there for 2 years, which means I have left. Let's take one more example over here to clarify further. We have a present perfect sentence as we have lived in this house since we got married. So that's a present perfect indicating we still live here. On the contrary, we have a sentence again as we lived in that house for a long time and then we moved. Now this is simple past indicating we don't live there anymore. So that's the second case, situation active or ended. So the lesson is that if the situation that began in the past is still active, you're going to use the present perfect. On the other hand, if the situation that started in the past has ended in the past itself, then the preferred choice of the tense will be the past simple. That's case number 2. Let's go ahead to case number 3. Alright, so on to a very simple case this time, which is of the present time words and the past time. Alright, so on to a very simple case this time, which is of the finished time words and the present time words. Let's begin with the finished time words over here. So whenever you've got a finished time word in your sentence, such as yesterday, last week, then, 2 years ago, and so on, you're going to have that sentence in the simple past. And this is for the very simple reason that your present perfect focuses on the present. Hence, the usage of a finished time word along with the present perfect would lead to a contradiction. On the other hand, if you have expressions of the present time, such as today, this month, now, and so on in your sentence, then the right choice of the tense will be the present perfect. Let's start with some examples, beginning with the finished time words. You have the first sentence as I saw Rachel yesterday. So yesterday being a finished time expression, you have the sentence in the past simple and not in the present perfect, such as I have seen Rachel yesterday. Nonetheless, let's have a look at the same sentence with the present time expression, which is today, which alters the same sentence as I haven't seen Rachel today for 2 reasons. The first one being that you've got today over there, and the second one that it is still daytime, the day hasn't ended, and hence the usage of the present perfect as I haven't seen Rachel today. Taking a similar example in the present perfect, you have another sentence as this month has been wonderful. Now this is the present perfect structure because of the reason that it is the present month. The month has not ended yet, and hence we're expressing that sentiment of the month being wonderful in the present perfect as this month has been wonderful. Let's go back to the simple past and the finished words once again. For more examples, you have another sentence as Tom hurt his leg last week. Last week being an expression of the finished time, and hence you have Tom hurt his leg last week. As opposed to this, if you do not have the expression of the past in your sentence and all you're focusing is on the outcome, you have a sentence, the very same sentence in the present perfect now, which is Tom has hurt his leg, he can't walk. We're focusing on the outcome over here. And finally, another set of simple examples, you have sentences as what did you do then? You've got that then as the past expression, so simple past, what did you do then? And finally, you have what have you done now, which is the present perfect for the reason that you've got a present expression in that sentence as now. So that is the third difference, which is between the finished time words and the present time words. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, so on to case number 4, which is words that mean at any point or up to now. And by this, I wish to imply all those words which express whether somebody has had or hasn't had the opportunity of doing something in their life so far, right from the point in time of their birth to the very current moment of their existence. Let's take an example to understand that further. Say if somebody's 26 years old and I wish to know if they have ever played hockey. So how do I ask them? I used one of these expressions and make a sentence as have you ever played hockey, which is to say, have you ever got the opportunity of playing hockey in your life? So with that, let's go to the examples of such words. We've got such words as ever, before, already, never, yet, recently, lately, and so on. Now, a word of caution over here, which I feel I must share, and that is do not confuse these expressions for the finished time words, which we covered in the previous section. And the difference is that your finished time words are more calendar-based. They are calendar-based expressions such as last week, last month, yesterday, last Monday, and so on. And they're only restricted to the past. However, these expressions are more general in time and they're non-calendar based and they extend right from the past to the current moment. So Those are the differences there. Now I believe we can safely move ahead to the examples. We've got the first sentence as, have you ever seen her? You've got that expression ever in there, so we're using the present perfect over here with the sentence as, have you ever seen her, and not the simple past, which is, did you ever see her? Now this sentence can also work in a particular context when you have a time marker along with it, such as, did you ever see her after that? But that would indicate a second encounter, whereas in all these cases we are discussing the first opportunity or the first encounter to do something. Let's go to the second example. We've got a sentence as, I have eaten this before, and not I ate this before. Now this is to say that yes, I have had the opportunity of eating this before, being expressed in the present perfect. One more example, I have seen this movie already, and not I saw this movie already. Another one, have you been to the museum yet? And not, did you go to the museum yet? Coming to the second last example, we have, I've heard this music recently, and not the simple past, which is, I heard this music recently. And finally, you've got, lately, I've been thinking of selling the house, present perfect continuous this time, versus the incorrect version, which is your simple past as, lately, I thought of selling the house. So that is number 4, which is words that mean at any point or up to now. Hope that helped. Now let's go ahead and move on to section number 5. All right, on to case number 5, which is time not mentioned. Now, often you will encounter situations and sentences where the time is neither mentioned with the present perfect nor with the simple past. Now, the sentences are grammatically valid in such a case. Nonetheless, their meanings or their implication differs entirely from one another. Let's take some examples over here. We've got the first sentence in the present perfect on the left, which is, have you seen Titanic? And this goes on to imply that have you ever seen it? Nonetheless, if you see the same sentence in the light of the simple past, you've got the same sentence as, did you see Titanic? And this perhaps gives the indication that it was on TV last night. Let's take another example. You've got a present perfect as, you have done a lot for me, which means that you have done a lot for me up to now. On the other hand, you have another situation, this time in the simple past, which is, my uncle did a lot for me, and this gives the impression that perhaps that gentleman is not alive anymore. So when he was alive, that being expressed in the simple past more suitably as, my uncle did a lot for me. Coming to the final example, we've got a very simple sentence, we have done the work, which is to imply that the work is recently finished and now we are free. As opposed to this, you've got the same in the simple past, which is, we did the work, and that indicates the action which was done at a past moment away from now with no connection with the present. And with that, we end point number 5. That was time not mentioned. Now quickly on to the final point, case number 6. All right, so on to the final case, which is news and details. And the rule over here is very simple, which is that whenever a news is to be given away, it is the present perfect which announces the news, while the details are followed up using the simple past and sometimes the past continuous as well. Let's have a look at some examples. We've got the first sentence as, John has met with an accident. He rammed into another car while he was driving and talking on the cell phone. So let's analyze this sentence. You've got the main news as, John has met with an accident, and that is being expressed using the present perfect as, John has met. And then you've got the details being covered using the simple past as well as the past continuous as, he rammed into another car, which is the simple past, followed up by while he was driving and talking on the cell phone, the red words indicating the past continuous. And let's take a final example over here, which is not so much of a news, but just to clarify further. And you've got the sentence as, there has been a mistake. You delivered the pizza at the wrong address. So what is the main information over here? That is that there has been a mistake. And you see that being expressed using the past, the present perfect. And you have that being followed up, the details being followed up using the simple past, which reflects in the word delivered. You have that sentence as, you delivered the pizza at the wrong address. And that's all in the last section, that is news and details. And with that, we come to the end of this little presentation also. I hope you found this useful. This was part 1 of present perfect or past simple. Be sure to check out the advanced video, which should be out soon, covering the advanced points in relation with the same topic. Till then, thank you so much for watching. Keep liking, sharing, and supporting. I'll see you soon. Thank you.